Hi everyone, hope you're doing well. It's your girl Jennifer with another interesting conversation. Welcome to this platform. So today I want us to talk about the African view of mental health. So I come from an African background, and there's a way we view mental health, and that is what I want to demystify today, because mental health is dear to me. But again, for me growing up, I didn't grow up talking about mental health issues. I didn't grow up knowing anything was ever called mental health. To be very honest, this is something that I have discovered in like 10 or so years, 15 years. Not because I would say after probably in college, where it would be mentioned. But I will give what I thought about mental health, and you can see. So mental health was not and is not a new concept in the African setting. But our understanding of what mental health is and what mental health actually is very different. So for example, in my growing up, anywhere mental health was mentioned, mental health or somebody with mental health issues, we referred to it as madness. Somebody who is mad. And how are these people mad? If somebody, for whatever reason, something goes wrong with their brain, and then probably they drop out of school, probably some were doing drugs, some maybe were not doing drugs, maybe they suffered from a certain disease, and then you started seeing them talking to themselves, they start being unkempt, they start doing awkward things. We, as a society, term them as mad. Children born with disabilities or people who are adults with a certain disability, generally they would be referred to as mad in the African setting. And sadly, some people still refer to them as such. Do I blame them? Absolutely not. Because you only do better when you know better. That time, there was no education, advocacy, and knowledge that was passed from people to even the health professionals. Sadly, some health professionals would even call it and term it as such. And when the people who are supposed to help us name things or term them appropriately do not take the position to do that, as a society, we name things as we think. You get. For example, I'd say me coming to the West and into to the UK, to be very specific, is where I have realized and I have come to learn you could call something this, but probably there's a better way of calling it or naming it. For example, instead of saying this person is aggressive, people who fight and everything, you can say they have challenging behavior. It's almost one and the same thing, but you have named it appropriately because you are not naming the person, you are naming the condition they are suffering from. You get? So when people struggling with mental health issues are termed as mad, so one, we will not want to associate with them. Secondly, we would not even want them. We would kind of even go ahead and neglect them and even abuse them, because sometimes we will deal with them in a very inappropriate way. I remember when I was a young child going to the village, and there was this boy who was struggling with mental health issues. That time, I didn't know it was mental health issues. Now I know better. But this boy, because he would harm himself and harm others, when he wakes up in the morning, they would put a rope on his leg and tie him to a big tree in the compound. And what would they do? When it is time for a certain meal, that come, give the meal to him. There, he would eat from there. He would, if he needs to go to the toilet, maybe they'll take him to the toilet, then bring him back. Sometimes he would not even go to the toilet. Sometimes he would find his weed on himself. He's messed himself up. And clearly, the community saw it as normal, because if he's not tied with the rope on the leg, he will get lost. They will not find him. He will harm himself. He will harm other people. But when he's there, at least they are able to watch him. They can see what he's doing. They can be talking to him, telling him. And he was normally very unkempt, And trust me, when I look back, I don't think they did that out of, they did not love him. They loved him. Because clearly they fed him, clearly they did what they could do. That was not a generation where there were pampers, where they would now put pampers on him so that he does not mess himself up. It was not a place where you can confine him safely in a certain area without having to tie him with the rope. And definitely with time, when somebody is being tied with a rope on the leg, surely, and this person is having those challenging behaviors of harming himself, he would even use the rope to harm himself. And sometimes you'd even find where the rope is having marks, and it would be moved from the leg to the other leg to the hand. It was not a very pleasant situation, but I have witnessed that. And I've also witnessed children who are born with a disability, and people would never take them out, because in African society, this was a taboo, and not taboo, a bad omen. You see, so you do not want this person out there, because you do not want people thinking this family has an issue or something. So these people would stay indoors and not even see the light of day. How unfair is that? And I could go and name many of these things that I saw for myself. I think a month ago, I saw another documentary in Somalia where they were doing similar things. I saw another one now in Ukraine. Unfortunately, there is war, and how one hospital has been dealing with people with mental health issues. And honestly, that's Africa. This is the West, Europe, and the treatment is very similar. Why? Because one of the deprivation conditions, the lack of knowledge, the lack of education, towards and in relation to this. And therefore, many people with mental health issues really suffer and struggle. In Kenya in particular, some that ended up even getting a diagnosis. We have a hospital called the Mathare Hospital. And this is a hospital where Mathare Hospital is known for two things, mainly. Either there's an arm of it where people go to give birth on one arm of it, but there's also the mental hospital. So clearly, even just mentioning somebody is in Mathare, you just know that person is mad. It's like in Kenya, that's how the Mathare Hospital is known for. It's not known for a place where people with mental health issues go to get help. It seems like it's a place where you would not even want somebody to go. But unfortunately, that's not what Mathare Hospital is. Because I know people who've gone to Mathare Hospital with mental health issues and they've gotten a diagnosis and gotten treatment, and it made their situation even better. So, why am I bringing this conversation to us? I am bringing this conversation because those are situations of people who clearly have mental health issues, and some of the treatments I have seen. But there's a deeper thing to mental health. Mental health is not limited to people having a mental health issue that will cause a disability or them to be termed as mad. Mental health issues are so vast. They're so wide. You are struggling with stress every day. Something is bothering your mind. That is a mental health issue. Are you mad? No. Are you getting treatment for it? Probably not. People who are in abusive relationships. Why do they stay in such relationships? There must be an underlying mental health component in it. Somebody struggling maybe with their self-esteem. Somebody they don't have the self-confidence to stand up for themselves. And that is all to do with mental health. People who are having high pressure jobs. You go to work every day. You are expected to perform at a certain standard. You're not meeting targets. And there's pressure from your bosses. And then your health starts giving in. What is that? Mental health issues. I remember when I was in university doing my degree in community health. I remember one of our lecturers telling us she used to work for this non-governmental organization, that she loved to work there. But unfortunately, at the crowning of her career, she had to resign. Why? Because it was a high pressure job, and when it started impacting on her health, she decided to quit. Let me say something about us Africans. We are very goal-oriented. Why? Because sometimes we have families to fend for. Some families depend on you. Probably if you have gotten a good job, they depend on you for survival, to send them back, to send them money so that they can buy food and just even the basic things. Send your siblings to school, do a lot of things. So you can imagine a high pressure job with very high demands of a family. And I'm talking about genuine demands. I'm not talking about those demands that are people just want to milk you out of your life. No. I'm talking about very genuine circumstances where you even feel the need to just come in and step in. Those demands are there, like life demands that. But you have this job that is not even making it better for you. Then your mental health starts struggling. Why? Because you're thinking, do I keep the job? Do I let it go? Do I let my family starve? Do I walk out of this job and my siblings will not go to school? And then you decide to keep the job because of everybody else that is benefiting. But you know what? This is where, as Africans, sometimes we struggle the most, because in such high pressure situations and these genuine demands and needs of a family, sometimes the solution is not even letting go of the job. It could be therapy, counseling, seeking to talk to somebody who could tell you this is how you need to restructure your life, reorganize. This is how you need to present your case. Because, for example, I can also remember my own situation. Have had to walk out of 2 jobs. And one of the situations where I had to walk out of the job is because it was also a high pressure situation. Clearly, the job was becoming very frustrating for me. And then I started having constant asthmatic attacks. And because for me, high levels of stress is a big trigger. And when the attacks started coming and I am seeing myself constantly go to hospital, to the emergency department, and I'm thinking at the back of my mind, is this really worth it? You know, and the people that were around me believed like, no, Jennifer, you cannot walk out on this job. Because for me, I was speaking and saying, definitely to very close friends, and telling them, you know what, I think it's time I throw in the towel. And they're like, no, Jennifer, you know, how you struggle to get this job, you really need to keep it. Just persevere. And indeed, I tried. And I tried. But constantly, I kept on getting these repeated asthmatic attacks that I knew were because of the high pressure job situation that I'm in. And you know, because at that time I did not know better, I did not know that I could seek therapy, counseling. All I knew was just to talk to a few friends. And because the friends are not supporting what I do, and I'm seeing what it is doing. Do you know how sometimes people back in Africa, we can think, as long as once you get this attack and you go to hospital and you're treated, you're fine. You can just go on. But the question is, you are forgetting that this medication somebody is taking because of this artificial situation that can be corrected. The medication is also having an impact on you, you know. And in Africa, we have, especially Kenyan, we come from a place of, you don't be soft, just handle it. And let me tell you, I am this person who, before the worst comes to the worst, I try to speak to somebody. But when the worst comes to the worst and I know whoever the people I'm speaking to are not listening, I take a drastic action that I do not consult anybody. And once I take that decision, my mind is always made up. I am not going back on that decision. So what did I do? I decided to quit the job. I didn't tell anybody I'm quitting this job. I just woke up one day and I stopped going to work. And everybody, when they asked me, I just said I'm not going back and we're not going to have a discussion about it. Why? Because I have tried for us to discuss and for you people to understand that I am struggling and my health is struggling. And I don't understand how going to hospital every now and then is a solution. How many people have gone through these situations? I know of a very dear friend who passed away because of working in a very high pressure situation. This friend of mine was a top performer. Like, he was such goal-oriented, like results-oriented, that quitting, even when his health was struggling, was a no-no. Sadly, he got a cardiac arrest, and within like few days of that situation, unfortunately, he died. Why? Definitely, he was struggling with his mental health because he's in a high-pressure job, needs to perform. He himself is a very result-oriented person, and then ends up deciding, I need to keep doing this. But I believe he also did not know better. Because if he had known better, he would have sought, you know, like in Africa, sometimes we treat it like it's a weakness to seek help. I have had even prominent people, like people who you expect to be role models in the society, say, and even say it in public, in the public, that mental health issues are for the people in the West. How sad is that? How sad is that? People in Africa, most of the times, we do not want to accept that mental health issues are real and they also affect us. And other than them affecting us, we need to start accepting that we can seek help. Do you know, even here in the West right now, the hardest people to pay for, the hardest thing for people to pay for is a mental health issue. That stress, that depression, that thing that somebody is going through, that they can go to a therapist, a counselor, a psychologist, and just seek help. Those are the things that people do not even want to pay for, and they do not even, sometimes even when it's offered for free, people will just say, no, I'm okay. Because there's stigma around mental health. Today I'm doing this video to just start this conversation to my African people, to the Caribbean people, to the Asian people, to the people of the world, to know that it is okay to have a mental health issue, and it is okay to seek help. It is not madness. It is not being, you know how they say this person is too much. They are always too much. They are always, they are like crybabies. No. If you're having an issue, speak up. Seek therapy. Seek trusted friends you can talk to. If you cannot afford therapy, it is okay. Therapy is not the only solution. Maybe your problem just needs you to talk and speak to somebody outside your social circles who will look at the situation from a wider perspective and from a holistic view, and they can point you into the right direction. Some things do not even need treatment. By the time we're getting to treatment, we have gone too far. For me, I am always a person who advocates for primary care. Secondary and tertiary care of health, we are going too far. We can stop something before it gets now to start needing treatment. The first treatment should be speaking to somebody. That is the simplest form of therapy we can get. So, this is my first conversation, and I will do so many conversations about our African view of mental health issues, and I will be coming to you with very specific ways of how we look at things and how we call them, and then start demystifying and coming up with solutions. Simple, very practical solutions. Why I started this YouTube channel is because I wanted to be very practical. You can read books, but let's just start from things that are practical, that you at your house, in your home, you can just take that step and start working on something. You know what? Experience is not always the best teacher. Making a resolve to work on something, that is what is the best teacher. So, today, I hope you are going to think through mental health with a deeper understanding and know that issues are many, issues are there. We need to name situations and conditions and not label people. Because to change the world, you need to change your mind. This is Against All Odds. I'm your girl Jennifer. Catch you in the next video. Bye.